Hi there, crafty friends, Louise with you today. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I decided I was going to play along with a challenge. I am really struggling with my scrapping at the moment. There just doesn't seem to be any flow or direction. I managed to make layouts, but they're not coming to me easily at the moment. And so sometimes I find a challenge can be a little bit of a kickstart in terms of the mojo, and that's what I'm going to work on today. So this is a color challenge from Arty, ColourBlast, and they had a sale for end of financial year, so I decided to pop over and pick up some new products. I mean, who doesn't love shopping for new products? It's the most fun we can have when we're scrapping. Now I picked up some chipboard pieces and some pastes. You can see all that in a previous video where I share my shopping experiences. And today I'm going to play along with their little mood board challenge, which has got some fantastic colors and quite challenging colors, I must say. Not something that I would normally be genuinely kind of using in my scrapping, but as you can see, I've chosen a blank background, and because this background is blank, I can color it in whatever I choose, and I'm going to mix it up with a few different products from their line. Now, I was lucky enough, I used to be a design team member very many years ago. And I have a lot of products still in my stash. A lot of my pastes haven't made it, but these embossing powders are still definitely usable. And so I'm using leather over my chipboard. Now, off camera, I've added a second layer of embossing powder onto that chipboard piece because I prefer my embossing to have a bit of a smoother look. One coat will definitely work, but for me, you get a bit more of a smoother consistency across the top if you give it a second coat. It's almost like that second coat kind of sticks to the undercoat and just kind of joins together and soaks into that chipboard, giving you a really a very smooth coating on top. Now you can see that I have pulled out my little palette, which has got the dusts. So the dusts can be activated with water. They come in the little packets, the little sort of bowl containers that you can see there. And basically you can let this like palette, so you can see my little palette that I've got there. I can let that palette dry out, and then when I need to use it again, I don't necessarily need to add any more dust because I can just reactivate it with water. But it depends on how pigmented you want your color. So if you've used quite a bit of it or reactivated it with water a number of times, then you may need to add a little bit more of that dust because you won't get quite as pigmented color. But because the mood board had some very unique colors, so it had quite what I would call rich colors, so a really rich green, this sort of burgundy, it had a like a pink that wasn't quite a bright or a dull pink. It was a really kind of rich mood board, so I had to get quite creative, and that's why I'm using my sort of craft sheet here as well, because that just lets me mix the colors, and then I'm using that little offcut to actually test those colors before I put them onto my actual colored palette. So you can kind of see that I'm getting those colors from the mood board, but they're not the actual colors that come straight out of the Arty products. So you have to get a little bit creative, but I'm super happy with how this came together, despite the fact that I'm struggling with my creativity at the moment. This just felt so therapeutic. I really enjoyed just sitting down and just colouring this pattern paper and mixing colours and playing and exploring, different palettes and a colour sort of that I wouldn't have used very often. So I would normally have probably cut quite a bit of this process out of the video, but I wanted to keep it in there for you because, you know, the whole painting process of this side of the patterned paper, yeah, it felt really good. I enjoyed it, and I think it didn't quite kickstart the mojo, but I may need to get back to sort of some of those roots of, you know, pulling out these products that I have, the dusts and you know, sprays, and using them just to add color to paper. It's something that I've probably let slip a little bit in terms of, you know, not exploring my creativity, just going straight for my kind of go-to. So if you find yourself in a little bit of a rut or a little bit stuck, I want to encourage you to really have a go at getting into something new, a new technique, or getting back to some, you know, something you may not have done for a little while, and that's what I've done here. Okay, so I did struggle a little bit with making that lighter pink. It's not the exact color that I wanted, but I certainly feel like I have represented this mood board quite well. I definitely think I've got that kind of mix of really rich colors, particularly that that burgundy, and then the mix of saffron, which I think I probably added some of the lush dust, which is the red. And yeah, then making a green as well was really interesting because, like I said, it's such a rich green. It's not that, it doesn't have that kind of brightness. And, you know, I end up to make it, I pull out the midnight dust, and the midnight dust is like pure black. It's so dark. It's a very, very dark navy. I would call it almost black. But that mixing that with the sort of the brighter green of the, oh, sorry, it's the green that's lush. Red is the candy. I've completely messed that up. So yes, mixing it with the lush green, you really get, yeah, such a vibrant sort of color explosion over on that left-hand side. And because I didn't have a coordinating patterned paper to mount my photo on, you saw me prep earlier that little piece of the off trim, which suited my photo perfectly. So this is from the same collection. I think it's called Day by Day. I must go back and have a look at that. But essentially, yeah, having a bit of fun here. I've got my chipboard piece, which is going to form my main title. I don't need to add a great deal extra because yeah, this is really just about that explosion of color over that left hand side to meet the mood board and the memory, the photos. So I'm going to put this extra little word pieces down the bottom, add my little floral element up the top, and then the chipboard piece that's currently raw. I toyed with the idea of mixing it up with a different color, but I'm going to leave it in the leather color as well. Stick everything down, and that's my layout share for you today. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching as always.